in this video, I'm gonna share why I let my YouTube channel essentially die. I basically stopped publishing on the channel for almost 2 years. And in this video, I'm gonna reveal why I stopped publishing on YouTube, why I stopped making videos in general, and why I'm back, and what I plan to do in the future with this channel. One day I was sitting down to work on my next batch of YouTube videos, and at the time I had Backlinko, which is my online education company. I had Exploring Topics, my SaaS startup. I would sit down to write a script or come up with topics, and I just couldn't conjure the motivation, and I realized I just don't want to do this anymore. But I also realized looking back, it really wasn't just that I was busy with other stuff. It was that I didn't enjoy the process of making YouTube videos anymore. In fact, I kind of hated the process after a while. And to give you some context about how I made those videos was I would write a script word for word before I even went to the studio. And then I would go into the studio and read lines for like 9 hours. When I say read lines, that's what I was doing. It wasn't really even like creating videos. It didn't feel like I was making anything. It felt like I was on sort of an assembly line. I would literally get in front of the camera, there would be a script, and I would just read it word for word. And the goal, because it was such an intense process to like go to the studio, get the lights set up, get everything going, was to produce as much content as possible while you're in the studio. There was no consideration in terms of enjoyment, in terms of ad-libbing. Oh, maybe you should try something else. Maybe we try a different phrasing, like 1 out of 100 lines, but it was pretty much like I was a human robot just reading these lines for 8 hours. And in fact, to make it even more efficient, I would schedule 2 studio days in a row because it takes maybe like an hour or 2 hours depending on the day to get everything set up. Like you're set up when you go to the studio, but then they have to like adjust the lights or do the audio, and then there's some problem with the lights and they gotta get another light. It's just kind of like, there's a huge setup. So when you do 2 days in a row, you do the first day, the second day you just come in and you just bang out another few hours. But again, there's no enjoyment there. There's no creativity. There's no spark. It's just reading lines. It's just maximizing efficiency when it comes to making as much video content as possible in the shortest period of time. And that's basically what video making became. It became this thing that was just, how efficient can you be? How many videos can you make in a day? As opposed to, how can I make something really cool and interesting that I enjoy talking about? So once I sort of nailed this process in terms of a great studio that I worked with, these 2-day long studio sessions, I sort of had to decide what I would shoot when I was there, because Backlinko is an online education company. And once I started creating more courses, we made a lot more money. And I realized the more courses we made, the more revenue we would bring in. And I had to make sort of a business decision. What do I do when I go to the studio? Do I spend those 2 days making a new course? Or do I make 12 YouTube videos or 10 YouTube videos or whatever? It was clear that I should make the course. Now the process was the same. Like, it was just reading lines. So I figured if I'm gonna go through this process that's basically painful, I need to decide to get the most out of it, and that was making a new course. So yeah, basically I lost that enjoyment of the process, and I had to make decisions about what I did when I was in the studio. And that wasn't the case when I first started on YouTube. When I first started on YouTube, I enjoyed it. Like, I had my friend with his DSLR camera, and we would just make some videos and I put them on YouTube, and it was fun. And then the channel started to get traction, and I felt this pressure like, oh, I need to create better and better videos. And I definitely focused on the channel more of a quality over quantity approach. I never really was like, oh, I'm gonna start doing weekly videos or whatever. But it was actually maybe harder to have this quality approach because the standard just kept going up and up and up. And actually a lot of the comments on the videos that people asked me was, how do you create these videos? Like, what editing software do you use, or how do you do them? Because they did look cool, but they required so much work and so much effort to create one video. Besides the studio, that was just step one. Like, the editing process was insane because I wanted every second to be perfect. Luckily, I had a very patient video editor that would edit the videos, do color correction and all that. And then we had a separate person that was a graphics guy, and he would do all these custom animations and all this stuff in the videos. And it did look cool, I have to be honest. But it took so much effort because there'd be like a typo in the video and you had to go back and say at 20, at minute 12, 36, this is a problem, and send this laundry list of changes. So that enjoyment that I had when I first started making YouTube videos completely disappeared because I went into this like efficiency mode. I mean, it was the complete opposite. I went from like having my friend come over to my apartment, we'd joke around, we'd go outside and shoot some stuff outside. And it was just like a fun creative process. And he would give suggestions and he'd be like, oh yeah, that's a good idea, let's try that, to like, going to the studio and literally standing in front of a camera on an X for like 8 hours and just reading lines. It was the complete opposite. Now, obviously, this more efficient process, I could make more videos. The videos generally came out better. They came out more consistent, but I just lost all the joy from creating them. The other roadblock that I ran into was repeating the same stuff over and over again. And again, this comes back to efficiency. When I first started making YouTube videos, I would start with a blank canvas and I would just come up with topics that I wanted to talk about. When I went to this like efficiency mode, I would just repurpose content that was on my site because it's just so much easier to do that. Where's the joy in just basically reading a blog post? Like I would take a blog post, I would edit it so it's a little bit better for the video format, but it was essentially reading a blog post that I wrote. It's like, where's the fun in that? But it was efficient when it came to creating videos. So I had to sort of make this decision between efficiency and creativity. And I was like, you know what, if I go to the studio, I'll make a course. Just the ROI is better there. And it was just easier to, focus on exploring topics, focus on Backlinko, and just have the YouTube sort of wither on the vine. The other reason was I wasn't that motivated because I didn't really need YouTube. I wasn't a YouTuber that is like, if I don't post a YouTube video, I don't eat. Like I wasn't reliant on YouTube. In fact, my channel wasn't even monetized until like a year and a half ago. I just forgot to turn it on. So it wasn't really a big monetization thing for me. It was more of just like a side project and a hobby. So that was why it was really easy to abandon it when I did. So as I was sort of made this decision to stop publishing videos on YouTube, I sold my company. I sold Backlinko. And that gave me a lot more room because at that time I was running 2 companies at once. I was running Backlinko and I was running this startup Exploring Topics. And Exploring Topics was growing really quickly and Backlinko was sort of growing slowly and I was just trying to sort of keep that going. There wasn't a lot of room for something else. So once Backlinko was sold, now I had time and perspective to sort of think about what I would do with my YouTube channel. The other motivation I had during this time, once I sold Backlinko, was people started asking me like, when are you gonna start the channel again? When are you gonna start publishing videos again? So I was constantly reminded and just kind of jabbed, like start this thing, which is good because it got me to actually do it. It's always difficult to, when you stop something, to go back to it. Because I kind of felt like, well, I've been there, done that with YouTube. I said all I needed to say, but that was because I was looking at it through the lens of the previous iteration of the channel, which was talking about SEO all the time, giving these like 7 tips to do something and go into the studio. And I just really didn't want to do that again. And I realized there's a different approach. Like it doesn't have to be do it that way or don't do it at all. There's a third option, which is what I'm doing now, which is create videos on your own terms. Like create videos you want to create them how you want to create them, and talk about things you want to talk about that maybe you haven't talked about 7,000 times before. Looking back, some lessons that I learned from starting the YouTube channel in the beginning, going through this whole journey, and then starting it again, is number one, if you're not feeling it and it's really a creative endeavor like creating YouTube videos should be, you should change it up as opposed to stopping. That was a mistake I made. I saw it really binary, like either I go to the studio and do these videos this way, or I don't do it at all. And only recently did I sort of discover there's a million options to do. Like I could just do it with my iPhone, like walk around. There's a million ways to do it. It doesn't have to be one way or the other. No, I happen to like nice production value, nice lighting, the stuff you're seeing in this video, but it doesn't have to be any particular way. And actually people can sort of sense that from your videos. I think in the later stages of my videos, I probably seemed tired because I was just like, hour 7 of reading lines in a totally windowless studio and a beautiful day. I just felt like burnt out and tired. I realize now that there's a million other ways to do it. So instead of stopping, looking back, I probably should have just tried some different formats and see what sort of felt right. So yeah, what's next for the channel? What am I gonna do with this channel moving forward? Well, it's gonna be same but different. So I'm gonna be sharing a lot of value and a lot of tactical things and lessons that I've learned from growing Backlinko and selling it, and now growing Exploding Topics that I'm working on every day. But it's gonna be a little bit different in the sense that they're gonna be more why things work and lessons learned. And also not everything is gonna be about SEO. Yes, SEO is still super important, and I'm basically like head of SEO at Exploring Topics, and we've been able to grow the site to crazy 400,000 visitors a month traffic levels in a couple of years. But I just don't want to talk about SEO all day long anymore. Like I still enjoy SEO, I still like working on it, but I just don't want to make every video about SEO and content marketing because As CEO of Backlinko, I learned a lot of non-SEO stuff, and now at Exploring Topics, CEO of Exploring Topics, I'm learning a ton about MRR, churn, growing SaaS, building a bigger team, shipping features, like all this stuff that I'm learning that I'm happy to share on the channel that has really nothing to do with SEO. So yeah, make sure to stay tuned for future videos coming up because we're gonna pull back the curtain a little bit more inside the business about things that we're doing, things that are working, and things that I'm learning. See you later.